hobby family? It is your boy K-Dub. This is K-Dub's High Five. 5 rapid fire questions with your favorite hobby faces. And today we bring in a sports card creator and entertainer, Mr. Jeremy Lee, Sports Card Live across all social media platforms, including YouTube. How are you doing today, Jeremy?
I'm doing good, Mr. K-Dub. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you don't have to call me Mr. K-Dub. School hours are over at this point. So, but I appreciate the title there. So, man, I'm just telling you, man, I really enjoy your channel. I'll make sure to link everything in the description of this video. I enjoy good sports card content creators, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your stories. So, 5 hobby-related questions. I'm gonna throw them at you one right after another. Ready to take on the high five?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, man. For people who don't know Sports Card Live, Jeremy Lee, walk me through a little bit who you feel like you are in the sports card social media world.
I mean, I started just over 4 years ago doing interviews. So I think I'm kind of looked at as a guy who interviews industry insiders, passionate collectors, content creators, and I try to like introduce them to the audience. Sure, they've heard of some people, but my goal is always to get the audience to get to know the guests that I have. You know, my kind of motto is on Sports Cards Live, I like to inspire, educate, and entertain with passion, authenticity, and transparency. And I think that's how people see me, but you never know what people are truly thinking.
Well, sometimes the comments let you know what people are truly thinking, unfortunately. So, well, how'd you come up with the idea to do these interviews? Like, where did that come from?
So you go back to March 2020. This is just before the pandemic was really starting to take off, and I wanted to sell some vintage hockey cards. And I didn't want to go through the whole scanning, listing, coining, all these ways. I thought, well, what if I could just live stream video to a vintage Facebook group? So I reached out to a vintage hockey group and I said, hey, this is what I want to do. I said, can I stream them to your group? And they said, yeah, that's fine, but you can't show anything from after 1989. So I said, fine. Did the live, got a great response, sold a bunch of cards, and people were like, hey, you should do that again. That was fun. It's kind of like Whatnot before Whatnot.
For sure.
And then I wanted to sell some modern cards. And I'm like, well, there's a million modern hockey Facebook groups. So what if I start a new one where it's just for live streaming a sale? And I thought, well, I should call it Sports Cards Live. So I went to Facebook. I got the group name was available. I got it. And I thought, well, maybe I should try and see if the YouTube channel name's available. It was. So I got that. A couple of weeks go by and it's like, well, what am I going to do? I thought, well, maybe I'll just go live and do an interview with somebody. So I called up my friend Carvin Chung, who's known as the architect and the creator of Exquisite and the Cup. I said, Carv, I'm going to go live on this YouTube channel I created on Saturday, April the 18th. This was 2020. I said, you want to come on? I'll interview you. We'll have a chat. It's like, yeah, sure. Sounds good. Let's do it. So we did it. And, I brought him on because he would appeal to basketball, the basketball audience, whereas I'm mostly a hockey collector. I do collect everything, but so we did it. It went really well. And then after that, Kyle, I'm like, well, I guess I got to find someone to interview next week. So I did. And here we are, over 550 live streams later, and I've never stopped.
Well, congratulations, man. That is fantastic. Very, very cool. And I feel like, there's a lot of connection or a lot of similarities between kind of our own personal kind of YouTube stories, because that's exactly how kind of the high five got started as well. So very cool. Well, Sports Card Live, I'll make sure to link it in the description. Let's talk a little bit about your influences, and let's start with sports cards. Like, who influenced you in your life when it comes to collecting sports cards? And then we'll talk a little bit more about the YouTube stuff.
It happened early in my life. I was probably 8 years old, and it was my cousins, just my first cousins. They were 3 boys. They were all one cousin's my age, one was 2 years younger, one 2 years older. And I remember going over their house one night or whatever, one day, and being in my older cousin's bedroom and seeing these hockey cards just strewn all over the floor, like 78, 79 O-Pee-Chee. And I picked them up. I'm like, wow, I loved the stats on the back, the little stories. Yeah. And I was hooked, and I've been hooked ever since. That was probably 1980, something like that. Those guys, throughout elementary school, kids, we would put together the sets every year. And then in the early 90s, I opened up a card shop from 91 to about 94. And then, I've just really been in it ever since. I slowed down the second half of the 90s, but ever since the year like 2000, I've been just fully hardcore immersed in the hobby. So that's I'd say those are my collecting. Otherwise, like, man, I've always been the one trying to get my friends into it. So I've
You
just
are
been
an
in this my whole
influencer.
life.
Yes, you are an influencer then. Well, when you think about like getting into the YouTube stuff, I mean, it sounds like really you kind of blazed a lot of your own trails, but was there anyone you kind of looked to or any advice that you sought out from other content creators?
Yeah, because I don't have any journalistic formal training whatsoever. And I remember early on, a fan of my show, he reached out to me, said, "Hey, I've done a lot of work with athletes in terms of media training. Would you like to meet with me
Yeah,
for free?" And I said,
yeah,
"Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to turn that down, right?" So I said, "Sure." So I met with this gentleman, on a Zoom call. This is just under 4 years ago.
yeah,
And he gave me a bunch of tips. I'm taking notes and I implemented them.
yeah.
And so I thank him. His name was Tim. I thank Tim for that, for reaching out and giving me that sort of
Sure.
little just the right directional push, so that I could actually try and be as professional as possible without having any training, as I said.
Mm,
And then fast forward to, I think it was spring of 2021, I landed a big interview, for at least I thought it was, with Patrick Bet David, who's he's interviewed Kobe and
yeah,
everybody. He's got a big interview podcast. Anyway, in preparing for interviewing Patrick Bet David, I studied his interview style, and I then used it on him when I interviewed him. And at the end of the show that he was on with me, he paid me a very nice compliment, saying that you did very well. He mentioned my sequencing and just how I planned and was prepared, and that gave me a lot of kind of just a bit of the push I needed to really continue. So yeah, I'd say those guys are a few, but as you said, man, like I really just kind of decided to do this and went forward.
yeah. Well, I mean, and it seems like it's been successful. But like you said, it's always nice when you can talk to people who kind of know what they're doing and kind of pick and choose the advice that you want. But it's definitely helpful. I mean, I know for me as a content creator, it's been really helpful to talk with other guys to hear what they're doing and then kind of learn from them and apply those things to my own channel or Twitter stuff or whatever it is. So that's great, man. Well, I want to hear a little bit about your own personal collecting because I'm seeing behind you, man. You got some historical cards, monumental cards in the hobby. But for you, when you think about the Grail card, yes, now we're talking. What is the Grail card or the Grail item for you in your collection and why?
Well, like I collect all sports,
Mm,
and I collect from the early vintage to modern pretty much. So my favorite, we get asked this question a lot. You know how it is, right? My favorite card, I'll just go back. 48 Leaf Jackie Robinson's a huge card in my mind. I absolutely love that card. Uh, the one card right now, my want list is led off by the 33 Gaudi Lou Gehrig. That's a card I'd love to acquire that I don't currently have and I've never owned. I'm
okay.
also interested in finding a T206 Ty Cobb, the red portrait. Those
Gotcha.
are kind of the two cards that lead my want list right now. But I started off collecting Hall of Fame rookies in all sports, and that's what you're seeing behind me. Those are all original art paintings that I had commissioned. I've got 20 of them behind me. It took about 3 years
Oh,
for her to paint all of them.
yeah.
And so it's funny, like I love these paintings. They're great. And they do depict a lot of cards that some I don't own anymore. I don't have a Jordan 86 Fleer anymore. I don't really covet that card anymore. I'm more interested in scarce, rare cards. And I'm not as condition sensitive as I used to be. I'm more about the tough to find cards. And so yeah, it's a great question, the Grail question. And but like I've I'm gonna go with the Gehrig. That's my the Grail I don't have right now.
And I mean, what would put that at the top of the list for you? Is it the rarity, the scarcity, or is there some sort of connection that you have with Lou Gehrig?
Well, so okay, so I got to break that down a little bit. When it comes to more modern type players like a Jordan, there's so many great cards of his that came out in the 90s that I find more compelling than the 86 Fleer.
Agreed.
But let's face it, a 33 Gaudi Lou Gehrig is not a rare card. In super high grade, it's rare.
Yeah.
It's more the history, the artwork, the technology of the day. I just love the card. I've already got the Babe Ruth number 53 from the series. I'd love to put them together and pair them up. So it's just a card that even though it's not rare, I would love to own one. And I just love the looks of it. I don't know.
No, hey, I'm all about the look of cards, man. If you followed me at all, I love good looking cards. So I totally get that 100%. All right, well, let's move on to the product then. Let's say I put all the riches in the world in your hand. You can open any hobby box you want, past or current. What box are you gonna grab and why?
Well, okay. I'm gonna cheat a bit, Kyle. I'm gonna say 2005-6 Upper Deck, the cup. I would love to open up like, well, a box is only 6 cards, so I'd love to open up a case of that.
Sure.
Yeah, I'd love to open up some of that. And 03 Exquisite Basketball would be a blast. But let's really dig into the history here, the hobby, and I'd say 51 Parkhurst or 61 Fleer basketball.
Okay.
Like I'd go back to some of that stuff. The 33 Gaudy, like who wouldn't want to open up some of that, right? So I know I kind of cheated, but there's a few there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And those are kind of random years. I mean, I'm thinking in my mind, like, the big names, but who would be drawing you to that? Or is it just the product itself?
Well, I mean, 05-06, the cup is the first year of the cup, and you're getting Gretzky's and Lemieux and Crosby's and Ovechkin. 03 Exquisite Basketball, of course.
Yes.
Jordan, LeBron, those guys. And then you go back to the older stuff. 51 Parkhurst was the first post-war hockey set. It's loaded with rookies like Gordie Howe, Maurice Richard, and more. Terry Sawchuk. I mean, the list goes on and on. And then you go to the Gaudy. Well, I mean, come on, it's 33 Gaudy. I think 48 Leaf. I could have a blast doing that too.
For sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, when we started talking hockey products, so I needed a little clarification, but you mentioned names that even I know as a non-hockey fan. So totally get it. All right, well, let's move on to the last question here. For people who may be getting started in sports card content creating, wanting to create their own, like what advice would you put out to those who are looking to create sports card content for themselves or for their channel?
Great question. And I've been asked this question a lot, and my standard answer is not going to change here, even with you, Kyle. It's going to be that, you just got to do it. Like, just start. Don't expect to be perfect. Yeah. Don't worry about having the best equipment, the best background. Just start and then improve as you go, because you can put pressure on yourself to be, I've got to do this perfectly and do take after take. You might not ever be happy. Don't worry about, like, if I were to go back and watch my earliest content, I would probably cringe, but I'm okay with that. I don't go watch it because I don't want to cringe, but you just have to start. Just start and do it. That's really, and allow yourself to not be perfect, and then give yourself time and be patient with yourself to continuously improve, whether it's how you are behind the camera or the equipment that you're using or the content selection that you produce.
And obviously, like, a starting point for you was the idea of selling some cards. So finding that niche or finding that lane, I think, is super important when it comes to content for yourself, because everybody and their dog's doing sports card content. And if you just start doing that, it's going to be redundant and overdone. So you got to kind of find your niche in your lane. So how would you encourage someone to find that for themselves?
You got it. It's like we say in the hobby, collect what you like or collect what you love. Produce the content that you like or you love. So let me take you back. Go back to early 2021. I'm about to go downstairs into my office / studio where I spent a lot of time to watch a bunch of hockey cards end on the PWCC eBay store. When they were on eBay, they used to do, baseball one, like vintage baseball Monday, modern Tuesday, and Thursday would be the hockey night. And I was on my way down the stairs, Kyle, and I said to myself, well, why I'm going to sit there for 2 hours watching these cards end one at a time. Why don't I stream myself, share my screen, and talk about it with the audience? Well, I did that. That has basically launched a whole, like, almost career for me, where now I have several auction house and consignment seller partners, and I produce content for them that is branded for their brand. And I cover, in 3.5 hours from now, I'm doing a show for 90s auctions where we're going to be covering and talking about the items on their auction that ends on June the 2nd. So if I didn't think of that going down the stairs and do it, I might not be doing this. I basically have created a business, a marketing service out of it. So, you just if you want to create content, you have to, like I said at the beginning of this, I like to think that I deliver my content with passion and authenticity. Well, it's easy for me because I'm passionate about what I'm delivering content on. If you're not, if you don't create content that you would love, then it's gonna be hard for anyone else to love it too.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, you have to find your passions in your collecting. And then if you get into this hobby for content, creation, I think you got to be passionate about what you're talking about. Or like I said, people can see, people realize when people are into it and not into it. So I love that advice. All right. I want you to shout out whoever did those drawings behind you, man. Who was it?
So my local LCS is called Eastridge Hobbies, and the owner, it's the owner's wife actually who paints these for me. And like I said, it's taken over 3 years for her to get them completed to this point. So yeah, it's I love them. I absolutely love them, and yeah, I'm hoping to get a couple more done by her in the near future.
Oh, well, I love it, man. Well, shout out to her, man. She's doing good work. So send her my kudos to her amazing artistic ability. So, all right, man, we cleared the list. We got a high five. Throw it up at the end, the high five. Boom. Hey, Boom. Sports Card Live on YouTube and all other social media platforms. Jeremy Lee is his name. Please feel free to check out all of his content. It's good stuff. Also, please subscribe to the channel, DizzyDub1, and hit me up on X or Twitter at Mr. K-Dub. Shout out to our High Five endorsers, Midwest Box Breaks, and LJ's Card Shop. Reminder to everyone, be the good in this world. Jeremy, thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation.
Thanks, Kyle.
All right. Hey, just like Jeremy said, get out there, make some content that's yours. Y'all take care. We'll catch you guys next time on the next High Five.